Thank you for watching my video. My name is Mr. Charles Weniken. In this video tutorial, we are still on fuse. In this video, we will discuss characteristics of a fuse and other things that are involved. Now let's proceed. Characteristics of a fuse. There are different types of fuse available in the market for different types of applications like residential, industrial, automotive, etc. etc. All the fuels are often characterized by the following characteristics. So we will discuss the various characteristics of a fuse in this video. Now let's move forward. Remember, just as I said, there are different types of fuse in the market: residential, automotive, industrial. So as we are going to discuss it, you will understand the characteristics of a fuse. Let's proceed. Now in this case, we have current or amp rating. Current or amp rating, melting time, voltage rating, and interrupting rating or breaking capacity. This one is amp square per second value of the fuse. Packaging temperature. Now I want you to understand what I am explaining, what I'm reading here now is all these are the characteristics of a fuse. This thing that I'm calling now, all these things, they fall under the characteristics of a fuse. Current or amp rating, melting point, voltage rating, and interrupting rating or breaking capacity. This I square T value is called amp square per second value of the fuse, packaging, as well as temperature. All these are the characteristics of fuse. Now let's move forward. Now, current or amp rating and melting point. The first two, that is the first two which I mentioned, the first two being current and melting point, which I have mentioned, the first two, that is current rating and melting point of the fuse, are generally associated with the thermal characteristics of the fuse. That is the melting point and the current or amp rating. They are all what? They are fuse generally associated with the thermal characteristics of the fuse, whereas voltage and interrupting rating are classified under interrupting characteristics of the fuse. I repeat, the first two, current and melting time of the fuse, are generally associated with the thermal characteristics of the fuse, whereas the voltage and interrupting rating are classified under interrupting characteristics of the fuse. Now, as the amount of current in the circuit increases, the melting point of the conducting element in the fuse decreases. What do you understand by that? The amount of current in the circuit increases, the melting point of the conducting element in the fuse decreases. It means as the current increases, the melting point being the element, the conducting element in that fuse, which is the wire, decreases. If the current is increasing, for instance, from 120 to 180, it means that the the wire that cross or the element of that fuse, it will do what? Decrease. That is what I'm trying to explain here. This is because as the current increases, the power dissipation determined by this, which I have already mentioned, this it signifies what? Power dissipation determined by this. That is, in terms of when the power is dissipating, as the energy is dissipating, which I told you that fuse fall under passive electronic component or device. That is what I am, because they do what? They store energy in forms of voltage or current. That is what it does. Now, in this case, this is because as the current increases, the power dissipation, bracket and close, determined by this formula, will increase, and the temperature of the element also increase rapidly. So in this case now, what I'm trying to explain here is, once we are talking of power dissipation, and you know what power is all about. Power, it fall under what? It fall under watts. As the power dissipation increases, so as the temperature as well increases. Now let me explain it to your understanding. Now, if for instance, you have been in AC for a long time, for a period of time, maybe for 6-7 hours, and you were freezing a lot, and you came out of the sun. Now, the sun, you will now come out of the AC, and the sun will hit you, for instance, let me just say for 1 hour. That particular temperature that you have during that AC period will no longer be the same of the temperature you will have during the sunny time. When you are in sun, the temperature will do what? Increases. You will be sweating. You will no longer be freeze any longer. You will be sweating. So that is what I'm trying to explain here. As the power dissipated by this formula increases, and the temperature of the element as well increase rapidly. That is just what I want you to understand. Now, current rating or current capacity of fuse. Current rating or the current capacity of a fuse defines the maximum amount of current a fuse can hold, as in can handle, or that can withstand without blowing or melting. Let me use maybe food as an example. You know, each of us, we have various gauge, the amount of food we can eat and we will be okay. You can compare somebody that used to consume, for instance, 2 cups of garri to someone that consumed 1 cup of garri. They will never be the same. So in that case, what I'm trying to explain here now is the current rating or the current capacity of a fuse defines the maximum of current a fuse can handle, all depending the maximum of food you can consume. The maximum food you can consume, it means if you can consume 2 cups of garri, all is less for you. If you can consume 1 cup of garri, all is less for you. All I'm trying to explain here is you can compare somebody that is consuming 2 cups and 1 cup. 2 cups is greater than 1 cup. So in this case, the maximum amount of current a fuse can handle without blowing or melting, that is what this current rating means, is what the maximum amount of a fuse that a fuse can carry, the maximum amount of current a fuse can hold or withstand without blowing or melting. This is usually mentioned in amps. For instance, as an example, 2 amps, 4 amps, 600 amps, and so on and so forth. All depending the maximum amount fuse can handle. That is why it is called current rating or current capacity of a fuse. Voltage rating of a fuse or voltage rating of fuse. Along with current rating, a fuse will also be specified with the maximum voltage it can be supplied with. Based on the voltage rating, fuse are again classified into low voltage fuse and high voltage fuse. Based on the voltage rating, fuse are again classified into low voltage fuse and high voltage fuse, and even miniatured fuse as well. But we will discuss this high voltage fuse as well as low voltage fuse. But remember, this is all about voltage rating fuse, because I said along with the current rating, a fuse also be specified with the maximum voltage it can supply with. Based on the voltage rating, fuses are again classified into low voltage and high voltage. Now, in this case, just as I explained from other ones now, this one stands for ampere square second. Ampere square second. This I that you're seeing, I square, is current amped, while this T is the second being time taken. Now, in this case, the ampere square second of value of a fuse measure the heat energy in the fuse. Now, I want you to understand something. This formula that you are seeing here is the one that measures the heat energy in the fuse. In that particular fuse, it measures the heat energy in the fuse. The heat energy is due to current flow. The heat energy is due to current flow and also the arc produced when the fuse is broken or blown. Now, what I'm trying to explain here is this. The excessive of this, once the fuse is above of this heat energy in this fuse, because this one is the one that measures the value of the fuse and when there is current in it, is the one that measures. Now, once the current is above the rating, what will happen? The fuse will do what? Will blown off. It will cut off. Now, in that case, this heat energy is due to current flowing. Current will be flowing regularly as you plug your television set on a socket. As long as the light is on, maybe it could be a NEPA light or any source of energy. As long as the light is on, it means that the current from the socket will be passing through the fuse of that cable that you plug in. From that cable, it will go straight to the motherboard and so on and so forth. So if that particular fuse, the current rating being the ampere square second, the current is above it, the fuse will blown off. That is just how it is. Now, this heat energy is due to the current flow, and also the arc produced when the fuse is blown off. Now, breaking capacity of fuse. Breaking capacity of fuse. Breaking capacity of the fuse is also known as interrupting rating or short circuit rating. Breaking capacity of the fuse is also known as interrupting rating or short circuit rating. Breaking capacity will specify the maximum safe current that the fuse can interact at a voltage less than the maximum rated. I repeat, breaking capacity will specify the maximum safe current that the fuse can interrupt at a voltage less than the maximum rate voltage. Now, what I'm trying to explain here is, if you understand what is here now, what I'm trying to explain here is this. In this breaking capacity of a fuse, this one is the one that specifies the maximum safe current that fuse can interrupt. The maximum safe current the fuse can interrupt at what? A voltage less than the maximum rate voltage. It means that it will not be above that voltage rating of fuse. It means that it will not be less than, because let me just use as an example. If you remember what I calculated, which I used 3 amps, 5 amps, and 13 amps in terms of the calculation aspect, you see that some of the calculation I do approximate. I approximate from 7 to 13 amps. So it means that less than the maximum voltage rate. It means that from 0 to 3 amps, from 4 amps to 5 amps, from that 6 amps to 13 amps is in between. That is why it said capacity will specify the maximum safe current that the fuse can interrupt at a voltage less than the maximum rated. From that 0 to 3, that is in between from 1 to 3. That is how or what the fuse can carry. That is the maximum, and less than the maximum rated voltage is in between 0 to 1, 0 to 3, and 4 to 5, 6 to 13, and so on and so forth. That is just how it is. Classification of a fuse. Classification of a fuse. Even though the job of a fuse seems simple, there are different methods to classify different types of fuses. Even though the job of a fuse seems simple, there are different methods to classify different types of fuse. The basic classification is the usability. For example, one-time only fuse and resettable fuse. One-time only fuse and resettable fuse. We will also discuss on it as time goes on. So what I'm trying to say here is, even if the job of a fuse looks simple, maybe you can be looking at it's a very simple something, but I want you to understand that without fuse, each of our electronics circuit will not power on. That is just the simple aspect of it. Without fuse, there will be no powering on of our printer, desktop, laptop, and so on and so forth. So it means that fuse is most important aspect of electrical circuit, irrespective of how simple you may look at it, but is also important. one-time only fuse when blowout due to overcurrent in the circuit has to be manually replaced. It has to be manually replaced. What I'm trying to explain here is one-time only fuse. Once is due to current, as in overcurrent in the circuit. It could be that the fuse that is there, the current that entered the circuit is above the fuse. Definitely the fuse will blow up or cut off. Therefore, it has to be manually replaced. It means that in one-time only fuses, it must be manually replaced. This type of fuses are frequently used in electrical and electronic systems in houses, industries, consumer products, etc. So in that case, bear in mind that one-time only fuses are used, is frequently used in electrical and electronic systems in our home, our houses, industries, offices, and so on and so forth. Thank you once again. Please, if you find my video useful, subscribe to my channel, comment, like my video, and share. Thank you once again. See you in the next class.